Hello, my name is Pablo Arias with International Relocation Partner, and every week we're trying to bring useful information for our expat communities. Uh, this week we have Rick and Denise McGee. They are my friends. They were my customers, and I also believe they have a huge story to tell as expats. They are what I call 360-degree expat, someone that did the research, moved to Costa Rica, find their perfect spot, and after all that, one day, well, not all that, but also purchase a business in Costa Rica, run the business, had employees, had all of the different mechanics of owning a business and in a different country. And so this is what I want you guys to talk to our audience today. Hey Rick, hey Denise, say hi, introduce yourself, and give us a little bit of background. Then we go into a few questions that I have for you guys. I'm gonna put you on the spot, maybe not too much.
So we had looked at several countries to move to, and we were narrowed it down to between Belize and Costa Rica, and we found the town of Playa Samra, and really liked that. And we originally started that we bought this house and was gonna do a VRBO and just visit when we could. When we got there, we bought the house in August. Mm-hmm. And got there in October. They were supposed to be doing some work, and got there, and the work wasn't complete. Rick had to go back in October because we still had the business. We still have the business here, and I was sort of thrust into not speaking any Spanish and having to hire 3 construction crews. And only one of them had a young boy who spoke a little bit of English, and I had a DeWalt construction translate. And so I learned construction Spanish before I learned much of anything else, and wound up being there till the 21st of December. So I was sort of thrown into this project, and I cried all the way leaving because then it became my house. I didn't want anybody in the house. It was my baby. I knew where all the electric wires, the plumbing, and all this. And
she was calling me. I was back in Maryland running a real estate company, and she's calling me and saying, "I know the word for grout. It's fragua," and just different, every word, every term. Escalaire. I learned that one this week.
So, and the Costa Rican people were so nice. I mean, the teams were respectful and helpful, and we met, there seems to be in every town expat groups that meet, and they have maybe pages on Facebook that you can connect. And you really don't even have to know them, but if you say, "Hey, where do I go to pay my water bill? How do I do this?" You get help immediately. You do. I mean, people really who are doing this experience know, they did it. Now somebody else needs help, and that's really something. And when we then switched over that, this wasn't going to be a BRBO, this was going to be a home. We were looking at Rick's retirement, so we decided to do the long distance relationship. So he still was working, and I moved over pretty much permanently, and we just set it up every 10 weeks. One of us were doing a 2-week travel. And I met Pablo because I had a boat. I used to live in Virginia during the summer. I was the campground chaplain. And I wanted to bring my boat over, and I priced things out to see if it was worth it. And got connected with Pablo, and what an awesome experience. I mean, to bring a boat over to Costa Rica. It was in Virginia. I was in Costa Rica. Rick's in Maryland, and the boat's in Virginia. But what a smooth process. I mean, they gave us all the information, we got it, they picked it up and took it to Norfolk, and then it so happened when the boat arrived in Costa Rica, I was in Maryland. And they worked it out. They were able to store the boat until I was back, and we got good communication. And the boat arrived. The driver with the boat arrived at my house 3 a.m. I knew he was coming, but silly me, he said 3. I'm thinking 3 p.m. And this man's calling me. And it was so much fun. It was dark. I met him down on the road with a flashlight because, again, my Spanish was not great. And he got up there and hooked it, and we just laughed and laughed. And it was such.
Well, and our road wasn't easy to find in the dark, even if you knew where you were going. And it was, it was a little treacherous and had a hairpin turn in it.
Yeah.
And so rather than try and guide him in, she's walking down the gravel road to meet him. And I guess you probably rode back up in the truck.
No, I walked with the flashlight because I had to make sure he got in.
Make sure the boat didn't go into the.
There are 2 things. I have to say 2 things, two things. First, you mentioned your experience with shipping the boat. And I always like to share with my customers that none of this is easy. And there are going to be challenges along this way because there are many different providers. It's different than, if you're offering, let's say, an automobile, you're selling your car. It's a finished product. But when you're trying to do logistics, it's a project, just like a construction project. And if you're down construction, like you guys have done, it's a project and things are going to happen. And the inspector for the local municipality is going to say, no, you can't do this. Or, many things. The same thing with logistics, but is in U.S. regulations, international laws, regulations, and then Costa Rica is even more complicated sometimes. But what we try to do is we try to make it work, and whatever happens, figure out whatever solution it may be better for our customers. On your case, I remember we received the boat and you were not here for a while, and I do remember we have to store the boat, and it was in my house. So I didn't want you to pay for a storage for I don't remember, like 2 or 3 months. So it's like I just gonna park it. I have next to my truck, I have a moving truck. I have a space for the boat, so I just park it there for a while. But I don't want people to think, shipping is easy. It's complex. You guys, you make it seem easy, and it's not. And the other thing I have to bring here is your attitude makes a huge difference on the entire relocation process. When you're saying, I moved to Costa Rica, found a house, and I'm going to start this project fixing a house. Just your attitude of calling Rick, hey, I learned something new today. That's a different mindset. Not everybody has that. And if you're moving abroad, you need to open your brain, your head to new things. You're gonna suffer things, you're gonna experience things that may not be as convenient. But attitude makes a huge difference. That's just my personal opinion. I've seen expats make it for many years, but the ones that have this attitude and they're curiosity, they're curious. And have this positive attitude about what they're doing, and they're proud of their projects. I do believe they have a better experience.
I'll agree with that. I mean, there were a lot of challenges. I think for where the boat was concerned, it was the communication that I think really helped with you guys, and the letting go attitude. I placed it in your hands. There's nothing I can do about it. I can't make government officials do things. I'm not even aware of how it works over here. I can't be calling, pestering, saying, where's it at? Where is it at? Your company gave me really good communication. We were educated. You educated us or the other gentleman as to what to expect.
Well, we felt comfortable every step of the way. I mean, knowing that you stored it at your house, we trusted you. We had faith that it was okay. It wasn't on the streets,
Yeah. I mean, it goes too with reputation. It depends who you have. And I think Rick just said the great thing. It was trust. I mean, you were honest, you were very trustworthy. So as the person, yeah, I got to let things go. And if anybody else is going to use a service and you're going to another country, you've got to realize it's not going to be your way. And you can get huffy or get stressed out, or you can just
go with the flow.
It's going to happen. You're in another country. Things are not the way you expected. Yeah, those construction projects. Was I stressed? Sure. I mean, I didn't know that it's a thing when a construction company comes that, like at 10 o'clock, everybody has coffee and they may be expecting you to give them coffee. That's sort of the thing. I mean, or in our town, I don't know if that's all for Costa Rica, but I did hear then later from other expats that that's a thing. They do a coffee break, they do lunch. So in the beginning, I'm sitting there going, are they going to work? I don't know. And they did. They're really good, but it wasn't what I was accustomed to. And the way things were done were not the way I was accustomed to. So if you go in and you're open to be educated and learn the way other people do it and not think it's going to be done wrong just because it's not the way you are accustomed to things being done. I mean, and you're right, it is attitude. Did I have days I was losing my mind? Yeah, try going to the bank or these places, government places, I was so afraid I was going to mess something up. But again, I got to go back to that resource of expats that are in wherever you're moving. They're there. You just got to find them.
I have a quick question, and I think this is going to start a whole new conversation. We can split this maybe in two videos, because this question, I think I have a lot of customers that are asking this, how is to open a business in another country? How is to open a real estate business? And you have a huge background in real estate, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit. But, bringing your experience as a real estate professional, a broker in the US, into Costa Rica, how is to then own a real estate company in Costa Rica? Is it easy? Is it the same? Is it too different?
Very different. Extremely different, those two businesses.
Yeah, it was, it's like night and day. We talked about, the US is so regulated. You have to get a salesperson has to get a license, a broker has to get a license, the company has to get a license. In Costa Rica, you didn't have to get licensed. Your taxi driver could say, hey, I can find you a house. We were told, that tourists were coming into town, and the bartender or the waitress was saying, sure, I'll drive you around and I'll go sell you a house. So we called it the Wild Wild West, assimilating it to, US terms, because it was like anybody and everybody could do your job. And so it's like, so we took the attitude that our agents needed to have some kind of training, some kind of background. So all of our agents went through the realtor school up in Playa Flamingo, and it was great training. But so we could say, hey, we subscribe to another level, and we're going to treat you right. We'll be fair with you, but it still didn't remove all of the undesirable aspect of the business.
Right. And people were getting burnt. You were hearing of people from other countries coming in and getting caught up in this, not aware. And then maybe somebody took off with their money, or maybe they were, just charged ridiculous because they thought that was the way it was done. And that made it hard for any of the reputable. Real estate firms, not only ours, there was another one in town too. And so you were constantly not only competing against another brand name company, you were competing against all these other people. And that was very difficult. And also we were so accustomed to, there was, what's the word? In the United States, there's the multiple list where every company has to put the listings in, so you all share that information. Where in Costa Rica, I don't know about other countries, there wasn't that. It was like everybody had these hidden listings or maybe, so it was a whole different concept for us. To purchase the business, we bought an existing business, which was huge versus just starting out. So the company we purchased had been around for quite a while. And the ladies who retired from the business had built a good reputation. So that was a big help. But having to redo the licensing, all the taxes, all the stuff.
Change the names on the businesses.
Yeah, I mean, we had an office that had no bathroom, had no, absolutely nothing. It had 2 little desks. That was it. We had to go get a health department permit. I'm like, why? There's no running. There's nothing, but I didn't know it. I mean, you would think if you had a bathroom or something. No, but you had to have, so there were certain things, and then certain, I don't want to say scam, but things that people were trying to get you to buy that you did not need, certain insurances or certain things that they're like, oh, the government requires this. And it took a lot of time to dig through what was real, and what was somebody just trying to make some money. So it was a very, I would say to a customer, moving into Costa Rica and learning was a good process. Becoming a resident, to do a business,
it was a whole nother level.
A whole nother level, and we were not prepared for that level, to be honest. So I would say to somebody thinking about this, it's doable. It's really good, but maybe get yourself situated first and really understand a lot more than what we did.
It really helps if you can speak the language too.
Yeah, that would have been huge.
In real estate, I hear this all the time. Your taxi driver could offer you properties.
Yeah.
But I seen many people, and this is true story. I have people call me and ask me, Pablo, I'm moving back to New York or I'm moving back to Arkansas. And then I offer the service and I build a relationship with this person. And then I realize, why are you moving? Why, it's only been a year and then you're moving back to your country. And they're telling me, somebody, I purchased this property and I cannot build anything.
Yeah.
I make a really bad investment on this piece of land. And they feel cheated. They feel really bad. And the entire dream of living abroad, living in Costa Rica, end up being destroyed because they made a bad decision. Sure. That's 9 out of 10. That's a taxi driver offering something. 9 out of 10. That's somebody that is not a true professional offering something. And I'm really sorry about these cases. I end up being a customer, but it's Costa Rica. It's my country. I'm proud of my country, and I don't want people to leave with the impression Costa Ricans are the scammers.
Yeah.
These things, a lot of it to me is common sense. But when you're an expat, and I sense this, when you are an expat, I feel it's easier for the expat to trust and to take that advice from anybody who is willing to be friendly. It's easier because you have less contacts, because you are new to this particular town, and therefore it's easier for you to get across somebody who doesn't have good intentions or who is not a true professional. So be careful. I'll say to
be careful.
To our audience who is listening to this and watching this, be careful.
Yeah.
It's real estate is a huge decision.
Our big thing that we heard a lot was the tour guides, because people would come in, spend a week, 2 weeks with these people and different tours. They build up trust. I've been with them for several weeks, and then they say, oh, I have a lot for sale or whatever. And, we get to a point, if you got to put, say, $10,000 for an escrow deposit, then they're familiar. Maybe in the States, you would use a title company and all that would be run. But this tour guide, who they've now known for several weeks and feel very comfortable, will sit there and say, no, we just give it right to the seller. And that is true mostly, I think, between Ticos, Costa Ricans. But for an expat, so the land wasn't clear title, or the land wasn't this or that, you're not going to get your
Or it
money
wasn't
back.
their land.
Yeah. And so a lot of people get burnt. We highly recommend, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say another company, but Landco in San Jose, who does all of Costa Rica, and Playa Samara is major, very reputable. I mean, use, whether it's them or somebody else, use somebody that's well known and that they're used to this and will follow putting things in escrow, will check everything out for you. Don't just take the local town lawyer. Don't just take the local, because 10 to 1, the local town lawyer is cousins of the person, and they're very, I'm not undoing local town lawyers. I mean, they're very good. I used them for selling cars and all that. But when you're talking a couple hundred or 300, 400,000, think, use somebody. And if you're dealing with a bigger name, a reputable company, they're going to guide you in the right place. So for us, that was a very difficult time in our life being in Costa Rica, because just getting the office organized, dealing with all this, honestly, it was extreme stress. And, we just at this point said, no, this was too crazy. Maybe opening the ice cream shop or the sub shop, but dealing with the legalities, the taxes, and all this, it was not, it was more stress than what it was worth.
Yes, it is. It is difficult. It's a very difficult industry, highly competitive, especially where you're competing against everybody. And I also feel that people, whoever is selling properties, they're not offering exclusivity to anybody. It's
Right.
like,
That's true.
Right.
so I think that makes it, like in the US, I'll say it's more like the rule. You have your broker, you have your real estate agent, it's exclusive to you for X amount of months. But in Costa Rica, you own the property, and anybody who brings the customer, and then after you bring the customer, the owner may say, well, I'm not paying 5%, all I'm paying is 2%, things like that, negotiating against, because there are many other people with offering so real estate, it's highly competitive, it's a difficult industry, it's not impossible. And whoever is purchasing property, the advice here, as for what I hear from you guys, is work with true professionals, do research, look for track record, for a track record, reputation, or name or company. And it's the same thing with logistics and with shipping. Customs brokers it's very similar to a used car salesman. A customs broker in Latin America, not just Costa Rica, in Latin America, it's a person sometimes who is in the position of paying a bribe to customs. It's a business that's got this negative, name around it. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can be taken advantage of. Taxes. A customs broker could say your taxes is $5,000 when in reality he end up paying $2,000. Things like that could happen. Is very often in our field. And just working with a reputable name, somebody has got something to lose, which is its name. It's the only way that you can protect yourself as a consumer in Latin America. That's just in the US. If somebody does something wrong with you, what do? You call your lawyer, and then you send a few emails, and that person sooner or later might say, "Oh, I'll give you your money back," or try to fix things.
Sure, you call the licensing authority. You call the
with no licensing, here there's the authority. Somebody could lose their license, their livelihood, so they're going to behave. And it's not only just the real estate firm. Use a really good company that does settlements, that's used to doing this. Like I said, the people we used, it's their name. They're work and they don't want their name messed up, and they do a really good job, and there's others out there, I'm sure. That's just who I'm familiar with. And that's important too with a real estate deal. It's not only just the realtor part and buying. Actually, the major part is this person over here, because they're going to be the ones you're going to ship that 200,000 to.
Yeah,
A lot of money.
Or 400 or whatever.
Again, has to be a huge amount of trust.
Yeah,
and the faith that it's going to happen the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, because when you send that wire of that money, and you're like,
so you guys do have a lot of projects. You moved to Costa Rica, research. Samana ended up being your sweet spot in Costa Rica. Then purchase a business. You purchase a house, fix the house, then purchase a business. And after how long? 6 years? After 6 years, you decided it's time to start another project. And you tell us now, what is it that you guys are doing now, and a little bit about what you do, Rick. We'd love to hear, and just to complete the story.
Sure. So my real estate company in Maryland, and we're licensed in Pennsylvania too, was established in 1987, and we operate a consumer-friendly real estate service where our fees are much lower than your larger companies, and some people call it a discount. But the service is essentially the same as you would get at Coldwell Banker or Century 21 or Remax. It's just that our fees are much lower. So we sell a lot more homes, but we make less on each one. It's sort of like a wholesale concept. But it's worked, 1987. So it's, however long that is, 40 some years. It's been great. And we have expanded. I think I mentioned we're licensed in Maryland and Pennsylvania. I'm the broker. We're the owners for the company. We have a dozen agents working for us. And the next step is, we thought the logical next step was going to be moving into running a real estate company in the USA to running a real estate company in Costa Rica. But since we sort of changed that midstream, I will continue to be the broker, but we're looking at making a move to build a home in Florida. But I can still be the broker and still maintain control of the company and be the license that will be responsible for everyone.
Our idea was to marry the two places. We loved Costa Rica. We like warm weather, so we loved that. We loved the view. We had a beautiful view, being able to grow papayas and those kind of things. With the the things of our home here. So we wanted to marry Costa Rica and Maryland, and the only couple places in the United States that are that warm is Texas or Florida or maybe Arizona. So Florida was on the same coast as our kids. So they went out, and so we got this lot that backs up to a lake, and so we're gonna just marry the two into one for our retirement home. So,
that's amazing.
We'll be building a house that's smaller than our house in Maryland, but larger than our house in Costa Rica. But we'll have the warm weather. We'll have more sunshine than in Maryland. But we'll have some of the USA kind of conveniences that we didn't have in Playa Samra, like a paved road.
It's amazing, and it's I understand the logic. You were kind of like in the middle. It's not Costa Rica. It's more developed. Of course, it's Florida, and then after 6 years, deciding to move back to the States, and starting more projects, starting new construction. So that's something that I admire from you guys, and from most expats. They're always doing a project. You guys, it's across all of my customers. One is building a hotel. One is opening something. Somebody else is doing a restaurant in Nostara or Puerto Viejo de Limon, or who knows. It's a go-getter mentality. So I really honored to call myself your friend, and I'm happy you guys are doing great. And I thank you for this interview. I know it's going to be so useful for a lot of the people who's looking to move and live abroad.
All right, thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thanks for your time.